5 JavaScript projects that you should build as a web developer, especially if you're looking for a new job, or if you're a junior developer looking for your very first job, or even if you're trying to swap jobs. These will provide you a better coverage of who you are than any CV or resume can do, because those are just some paper with some testimonials and maybe some examples of some languages you know, but they don't really show real-world situations of what you've built and how you've done it. And this is why I so recommend having these projects in your portfolio and having these start off for any job application that you do as the way you introduce yourself. Now, before we get started, I'm Adrian from Australia. I do videos around design and development, so if you haven't already, hit like and subscribe and we're just gonna jump straight into it. The very first one here on our list is your own portfolio. Whenever you're creating a website, so many times people forget to create their own, one that represents who they are and what they've done. This speaks to me so much more than any piece of paper on a CV or a resume would ever do, especially as an employer. Being able to have a look at someone's website that they've done themselves, having a look at their code, having a look at some of the projects they've done on there, is a true testament to that person's personality, their quality of service. Their code itself speaks a dozen words. It's like a picture, which paints a million words, more than any piece of paper can on a CV. This is why I recommend anyone who's looking for a job to have a good portfolio. Not something just built in Bootstrap where you might have copied over a pre-existing template someone else did, but create your own personal one with your own personal touches. Here you can add some maybe animation, something more wild in terms of colors, and you can even create some cool JavaScript functionality in here to show what kind of interests you have. This is where you can really express yourself more than any other website, because once you start making websites for clients, you have to stick to a scope, and sometimes you might not be able to add some of that cool stuff that you can in your own portfolio. There are a few things that I would recommend for a portfolio. This is a good menu where you have a home section, maybe a contact us page with some links to maybe an email and GitHub, as well as having some examples of projects. And for the projects themselves, a screenshot, maybe a link, a small description, and some examples of the languages used is a perfect use case of what you want to be able to do on your portfolio. Of course, here we've got a good example of one here by Kevin. And Kevin's got one where he's put in all the projects he's done. He's been able to do a very good portfolio here that shows that he's a great developer. He's put in lots of extra metadata in here that really makes this shine, and this should be a use case to you if you're trying to make your own. The second project I would recommend a lot of people have a look at is creating a weather application. Now, I know that might not seem like the most fun, but it gives you a use case example of a lot of moving parts that really prove your skills as a developer in frontend or backend or just in JavaScript as a whole. You have to do a few things here. Things like being able to find a third-party API provider, pulling in data from that API provider and presenting it on your own website or application. All of these means that you have to have a base understanding, and this really proves that you're able to do that. Then, if you want to take it to the next level, you can add things like images or icons, depending on the type of weather. You can add in extra parameters in there, like swapping to different locations, or maybe even adding in pressure and wind and other aspects like that. At the end of it, you've got a fully fledged weather application that you can use for yourself, or something you can then add to your portfolio. And all of this code is really good code to be able to show off. You can even have conversions in there. Things like swapping from Kelvin to Celsius, and all of this are stuff that you might have to use in the real world, and they show that you're able to do this yourself. This is why I recommend having a weather application on most portfolios. Everyone also takes it in a different way, and you can tell by the way that someone creates a weather application as to their personality, whether they're more design-oriented or more focused on the functionality itself. And I think it's a good use case to be able to get to know someone a little bit better, especially as a programmer. Third on our list is to create a directory. Now, so many things on the web are essentially directories. Amazon, for example, is just a directory of products. Kindle, therefore, is just a directory of books. And when you're working online, this is something you'll realize, that most things are just large-scale directories. And what you're essentially doing is searching and sorting and categorizing and filtering between them. WordPress, for example, is just a number of pages, essentially a directory of pages, and blog posts, which you're sorting and matching. Now, creating a directory does take a few things that you have to be able to do. So if you're going to create one, you need to be able to maybe have an array of objects, maybe something in SQL or Mongo. You need to be able to pull them into your website. And you also need to be able to search through maybe the title or the category of the type of movie or show it is. I've created hundreds of directories, doing web in general, and doing so has really helped me grow as a developer. Being able to then do this, to show off that this is on your portfolio, really gives you a step up because it's showing that you'll be doing one of those fundamental things that you do in web development. Here's a directory that I did a long time ago. It is a directory of different types of games based on the type of platform they're on. And of course, you can type in a keyword and you can get a quick result, or you can just click on one of these to be able to filter through the different types of games. And this is why directories are so good, because you'll be able to really format them and make them work however you want. When you do create one for your own portfolio, you really need to make sure that you add a bit of personality to it too. Maybe something you enjoy doing, whether it's a directory of surfboards, or maybe it's a directory of books you like reading. Just make something that shows off that you can do directory services. Something to make sure that you're doing when you're creating any website, whether it's a directory or a fan clone or even your own portfolio, is to make sure that it's responsive. This means that it works on all devices, whether it's a tablet or a phone or a desktop. And this is so important because so many times I've seen a website look great on desktop, but it just wasn't optimized for mobile or vice versa. And these are one of those things that we're looking at as an employer, or when you're trying to apply for a job. I'm always going to check whether your website is responsive. So make sure that you add those media queries, or if it's in JavaScript, make sure you optimize it. Last on our list, number 5, but not least, is a project that is near and dear to your heart. It's something personal, something that you've always wanted to make. This is a personal project. Now, I know that this might not be very specific, but in a way it is specific because it's specific to you. A personal project is something that you work on simply because you enjoy doing it. This gives you an idea of what you like to do, and usually you'll do a lot more effort when you're working on something you enjoy. So this could, for example, be tracking shoes from Nike, or maybe statistics on games, or maybe even Bitcoin. It doesn't really matter what it is, it just matters that you put your heart and soul into it. When I, as an employer or someone looking through your portfolio, sees this, they'll be able to get a better idea for who you are as well. And this, I always think, is one of the most important things when you're creating a portfolio and creating example projects. Anyone can create a to-do list. Anyone can create a weather application, but not many people can create something that they truly are inspired to make out of their own desires. I hope this gave you guys a few good ideas of projects you can build as web developers. There's lots of variety over here, and it's not just limited to JavaScript, but being able to have a foundation in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are core to creating any project, I think. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.